All right, it's up. So, welcome everyone to this week. We are going to be talking about the different types of reroll compositions on today's patch. It is now patch 13.15 as of yesterday. So there are plenty of new compositions out there and some returning ones, but today should be a pretty good lesson. Just for anyone who is watching this live, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute your mic or type them into the TFT training chat. I'll be taking a look every now and then, and we can answer it there. If it's more of a bigger questions or unrelated questions to the topic, then you can save them for the end, and I'll be happy to answer them as well. If you are watching this on the Training Grounds YouTube, click on the link in the description to check out the Training Grounds Discord channel. You can come and watch the lessons live, join the community, talk in the TFT highlights or text channels, and yeah. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. So some more terminology for today's class before we get into it. If you've watched previous videos, this stage terminology has come up a couple times, but I think it's still important to know. Also, if newcomers are here. So when we talk about stages, the first number is going to be the stage number, and the second one's the round number. So if I say 2-1 or 3-1, it's going to be stage 2, round 1, or stage 3, round 1, etc. Going to be talking about a lot of rolling today, as it is a reroll class. So the first one's slow rolling. Essentially, you want to roll down to 50 gold each turn at a specific level. Specific level will either be 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on the unit cost that you're desired. So either 1, 2, or 3, 4 cost. And the reason why we want to go down to 50 gold each turn is, of course, we want to maintain that maximum interest of 50 gold to get that extra 5 gold per turn, 1 for every 10. And this will really maximize our rolls and efficiently manage our gold. Our second one is hyper rolling. So you'll only hyper roll on one round. This is on stage 3-1, so this is right after Krugs. The reason why we do this is you're still going to be level 4, and you'll have the highest chance of seeing 1 cost units. So we're going to hyper roll a little bit here to either just stabilize with our 2-star 1 cost, or if we have a lot of copies, we can keep going and just 3-star the 1 cost from there, and hopefully try to win streak stage 3. All-inning is essentially either you're at a really perfect interval for leveling, or you're low HP or even 1 life. You have to spend all your gold in either leveling or rolling in order to create your strongest board. It's kind of a last stand type of situation, and you're just trying to play it for the highest placement possible. The very last one is donkey rolling, is just sending it to 0 gold every round. Once again, this is mostly out of necessity. If you're at 10 HP or 5 HP, you have to send it 0 gold every round if you're still trying to hit a 2-star or a 3-star, and just try to play for that additional placement. So this is some of the terminology we'll be talking about today. We're going to go into the table of contents. So as you know, today is going to be a reroll video. We're going to talk about different 1 cost, 2 costs, and 3 costs. If you're rerolling 4 costs, you're most likely going to win the game if you hit. So that is not going to be in today's class. And then 1 cost, we have Kale, Tristana, Samira. Samira is definitely the biggest one. I think it's pretty OP right now based off of the changes. I'll talk about what changes happened and how to play that comp. So Kale, Tristana, Samira. I'll talk about Talia Set, Teemo, and Zed Slayers. And then the last 2 for 3 costs, Reksai Karma. You might notice I didn't put Akshan for 3 costs. I think he's still good, but he's received, I think, two nerfs in the previous 2 patches, and he's definitely not as good as he once was. We're going to end off with some final tips, and then save some time for any questions. So a reroll introduction. Here we go. So what is rerolling? Well, essentially we trade 2 gold to refresh our shop, right? And why do we do this? We want to try to create 2-stars or 3-star units that are powerful and will help us win rounds, deal damage, and place higher in the game. That's basically the general gist, right? These compositions, they spike when your carries are 3-starred, or at 2-star you have a little spike, of course, but mainly when they are 3-starred. So what does this mean? It means that reroll comps are really weak early and are really strong mid to late game once you hit. Since we are trading so much gold in order to refresh our shop, it's extremely important to know how to efficiently manage your gold, how to manage around interest, streak, and yeah, interest and streak. So that's a quick intro of what rolling is. The different types of rolls, as we talked about, so I already explained these 2 main definitions, but essentially slow rolling maintains maximum interest, and it will help us spike our board once we're at 3-star. And then hyper rolling, this is going to be at stage 3-1, so remember this is right after Krugs. What we're going to do is we're just going to roll down, and we have 2 choices. Either we're close to a 3-star 1 cost carry and we can send it, or we stop rolling at a minimum of 32 gold. And the reason why we do 32 is because we get plus 5 gold for each round. After I think like after 2-1, we start getting plus 5. So that's like super early. Most of the time it'll just be plus 5. And then because we have 30, we also get a plus 3 for interest. So then that's 8 gold. And then of course 32 plus 8 makes 40. And then 40 is our next interval. And then 40 can go to 50. And then basically it just sets us up to go slow roll for stage 3. So 32 is the minimum we want to go in order to make that 40. Then 40 makes 50. And then from there we can start to slow roll. So that is the math behind 32. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to slow roll again and then try to 3-star our units. Okay, so this is what the different types of rolling is. How levels correspond to your rolls. So this is pretty basic stuff, but it's still good to know. So of course, different unit tiers appear at different levels. So this is the chart. If people are interested, I could definitely provide a picture of this in the TFT training voice channel after, or the chat, and then you can have this table ready. But lower tier units appear at lower levels and higher tier units appear at higher levels. So as you can see here, level 4 for 1 cost, tier 1 or 1 cost is the same thing. It's the highest on level 4, so that is why we're going to be hyper rolling there. And then as you can see, like 2, 3 costs, level 2 or 2 tiers or tier 2 will be looking for level 6, and then tier 3 will be looking at level 7. So this is kind of how it works. Pretty cool chart, and I can share afterwards. Okay. So the very last one is talk about what legends to use. So if you are purely looking to reroll comps, which is perfectly viable as there are many reroll comps available on this patch, Lee Sin is the best legend to use. Namely because, well, of course, of his augments, it's tailored. One thing to know is that Bronze Ticket is now replacing On a Roll. So this is an outdated diagram on the TFT websites. But basically none have been updated yet since the patch was just yesterday. So this is not On a Roll, it is now Bronze Ticket. Every 4 shop refreshes, you get 1 free refresh. And tips to know about this: so Trade Sector is really good. I would say that's the best one. Shopping Spree is more of a tempo augment. The 1 gold per round is really nice. So it's okay to take, like it's still takeable. However, being able to, or having the free shop refreshes equal to your level, most of the time you're going to be stuck on level 4 or stuck on level 5. So you're really not utilizing that 5, 6, 7, 8 as you would with the tempo. So I don't think it's that good. Also, do not take the augments on stage 4-2. It just gives you gold, but in very little gold and over like a specific amount of turns. You would much rather have a combat augment. So I would say that Trade Sector is really good, and then any of the stage 3-2 augments are really good as well. Okay, so that's Lee Sin. We're gonna move on to the 1 cost rerolls now. So the first one, it's going to be either Kale or Tristana, so hence the slash. We never play these together. So the goal of this for both of these comps is to 3-star our Poppy and Maokai, and then either our Kale if we're playing Kale, or either our Tristana if we're playing Tristana. The best augments to look for all reroll comps, Golden Ticket is the best. It allows us to just get so many free rolls. Every shop refresh, we have a 50% chance to see another shop refresh. And you can see like a free shop refresh off of a free shop refresh. So basically you just get an insane amount of rolls and you're able to 3-star units a lot. So in Trade Sector, these are really good. Basically, before I even get into hyper rolling, I'll talk about like when to play Kale and when to play Tristana. So if you get bows and rods, you're going to play Kale. Kale's best item is Ginsu's, as you can see. Even double Ginsu's is best on her. So Ginsu's Rage Blade, rods, and bows, you're playing Kale. Swords, you could play Tristana, because Tristana needs 2 swords. She needs Giant Slayer, and she needs your Hextech Gunblade. So that's when to play Kale, that's when to play Tristana. Both of these comps are going to be hyper rolling. So that hyper roll I talked about right after Krugs, either 3-star the units or go to 32 gold, and then make your way back up, and then slow roll from there. So let's talk about Kale first. So this one up here, this is going to be your level 6 board. So here are 3 3-stars, right? So 1, 2, and 3. Because Kale, because our 4-star Yordle is not going to be like a Teemo or Tristana, it's going to be our Poppy. We itemize the Poppy, so then she gets that special ability to knock up and stun. So that's why we itemize Poppy in this comp. Our Yordles are of course going to be 1, 2, and 3. Poppy pairs with Maokai for Bastion, And then Galio will eventually become Jarvan. But this is pretty early into the game, level 6, so we most likely will not have Jarvan at this point. So this is the comp. And then, as I mentioned, as you start pumping levels and trying to make your way to level 9, you're going to drop this for Jarvan and then just start adding in Slayers. So like Gwen is a really good dual carry. You could just place AP items on her, Shiv, Hodge, Jewel Gauntlet, and she's super good. And she'll also pair Shadow Isles with Maokai. So that's how you play Kale. Tristana is a bit different. So because Tristana is going to be our 4-star Yordle. For Yordle, by the way, for those who don't know, is once you get 3-star units on your board, your strongest Yordle will become a 4-star. So then in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 3 stars. And so then our Tristana will be, we want to make our strongest Yordle. I think in order to, tiebreaker, because technically these are both 3-starred, if we have 3 items of both, you just take off the one that you desire to be 4-starred, like on the bench, and then you put it back on. Then the game will recognize, oh, this is your strongest unit, and then bam. So this is actually wrong. Because we have our Yordles here and Tristana is going to be our 4-star Yordle, we want to itemize the Maokai. So sorry, this is an error, I apologize. The items should be on Maokai for the Tristana comp because Tristana is going to be our 4-star Yordle and Poppy is merely just going to be 3-star. So make sure you itemize your Maokai in the Tristana comp and itemize your Poppy in the Kale comp. Okay, eventually you're going to swap out the Teemos for Heimerdingers as well, and on patch 13.15, the best one is Shred, Mechano. Okay, so that is Kale and Tristana. Our next one is going to be Samira. So Samira has gotten a huge buff on this patch. Essentially what they did is they just fixed up her AI, so when she casts, it's no longer just like fizzling, or like if she kills a unit as she casts, the cast doesn't just like go where the dead unit is, it'll redirect to a new target. So that really improves her DPS. So although some people call it Samira and Cassiopeia, it's mostly just Samira. Samira is the main carry here. Best augments for this comp is Total Domination. It's the Noxus augment that allows you to execute units when they're at low health, and of course Golden Ticket. Same thing as most of these comps, you're going to be hyper rolling a stage 3 one right after Krugs. Samira 2 is really stable, same with Cassiopeia 2. So even if you just hit these and you're near 32 gold, that's fine. You could just sit, make your way back up, and then a slow roll once you're on level 5. Best in slot for Samira is going to be Blue Buff Giant Slayer +1. That +1 could be any AD item. It could be Infinity Edge, Deathblade, Rune-Ons, even Guardbreaker. Make sure you put your tank items on Swain, and then your win condition for rerolling Samira is either going to be 3-star your entire board, so that means your Swain, that means your Darius and Katarina, or go level 9 and add legendaries like Heimerdinger or Aatrox. This is what your level 7 board is going to look like, and it's going to be 6 Noxus, 2 Challenger, and 2 Juggernaut. Okay, so that's Samira Noxus. I highly recommend this comp right now. Samira is really good. She does incredible amounts of damage, and with the new changes, you can place really high with her. So I highly recommend this one. Even over the Kale or Tristana comps, I think Samira is just the best one-cost carry right now in this patch. Okay, so that's it for one-cost carries. I see a message here. How do you feel about Caitlyn as a legend? I think Caitlyn right now, I need to experiment more. I've already tried a bit, but I think it is quite good. But only her first augment is good. Stars is Born. That's her gold one. And most of the time you will find gold augments as your first 2-1 augment prompt. I think it's about 60% or 60-something%. And the reason why it's so good, of course, it gets you that +6 gold just from taking it. And then the next 2 cost unit you buy, it goes to 2-star. The next 1 cost unit you buy, it goes to 2-star. And that is really good for these two. Swain is arguably the best 2-cost unit, and Samira is arguably the best 1-cost unit. The thing with that though is Caitlyn's 2nd and 3rd augments are not good. You don't want to be taking Caitlyn 2nd and 3rd. So then it's like we're only taking Caitlyn for the chance to see her gold augment on the first augment prompt. So we can continue this discussion later. I think that one augment is really good, but the legend as a whole is not very reliable. Okay, so we're going to move on to 2-cost rerolls now. The first one is Talia Set. So this is also codenamed like Bounce House, if you've ever heard that. And the goal for this is we're going to be 3-starring our Talias in sets, and we're going to be playing 2 Talias if we have double trouble, or just as many Talias as we can if we don't have double trouble. Of course, Beck's augment is double trouble, and then golden ticket as well. The reason why double trouble, and we're talking about 2 Talias, the reason why we're doing this is because whenever there's a knock up on this board, any Talia on the board will shoot an additional rock at the knocked up target. So that's also why we play Set as well. So Set is going to be knocking up, or like he's technically pulling, but it's like considered a knock up any of like the targets and the enemy targets, and then both Talias will throw that extra rock at that unit, and it does so much damage. It's essentially just a one shots them. Even if you don't even have Talia 3-star yet, definitely if you have Talia 3-star and you have the proper items. So that's why double trouble is really good, because we really want to be playing 2 Talias, and then they benefit once 2 are on the board with double trouble. Same with the sets. Okay, so now we're looking at 2 costs instead of 1 cost. So the difference with 2 costs is now you're going to be looking to slow roll on level 6. So no more hyper rolling right after Krugs. On 3-2, we're going to be going to level 6 and then rolling down to stabilize. Once we've stabilized with like 2 stars, we econ back up, get up to 50, and then start slow rolling in order to 3-star units. Talia best in slot is going to be your jewel gauntlets, some mana items, so Shojin or blue buff, and then +1. That +1 can be any AP item, so like Gunblade, Rabadons, Archangels, anything is fine. For Set, you're going to be wanting Ionic Spark +2, and this +2 ideally is Protector's Vow, and then any other tank item, Bramble, Dragonclaw, Warmog, it's okay. The reason why Protector's Vow is so good is you get so much starting mana that Set almost instantly pulls. And then remember, as instantly Set pulls and knocks up, both the Talias will shoot. So what you can do is, once you have Protector's Vow, just place Set in front of an enemy unit that you want to kill right away. So if you're against challengers, it could be right in front of the Yasuo. If you're playing against like Noxus, it could be right in front of the Darius. Pull them, or her, or them, and they will essentially be one shot if the pull goes through. Okay, so the win condition for this comp, essentially you're gonna actually drop this Swain and then play like 2 Cassantes, 2 Scions, and Aatrox. Okay, so that is Talia Set. I don't recommend playing this comp if you don't get double trouble. You could, if you're playing Ornn Augment or Ornn Legend and you get Trickster's Glass, you could Trickster's Glass onto Talia, make 2 Talias, and then go from there. However, it's just not as good as double trouble, so for the majority of games, I just say if you don't get double trouble, you will not be playing this comp. Okay, so the next 2-star or 2-cost reroll is going to be Teemo, and now Teemo is a really interesting one. So now his damage got buffed for this patch. However, I believe his AI is not as good. The reason why is now when he's throwing mushrooms, the second mushroom will go like right behind the first target, so it does not spread as much. However, the damage is higher. The goal for 4-star Teemo is going to be to 3-star Teemo, Poppy, Maokai, or Kled. Best augments, once again, golden ticket trade sector, and since we're looking at 2 costs, we're going to be looking at level 6 on 3-2, rolling down to stabilize, and then slow rolling until your 3-star Teemo or your 2 other 3 stars. Now the reason why we say or Kled is because we only need minimum 3 stars in order to 4-star our Teemo carry. So of course it's going to be Teemo's going to be 1, Maokai is most likely going to be 2, and then 3 or 4 will be whatever we hit, either the Poppy or the Kled. Now remember, because as I mentioned earlier in the Tristana reroll comp, because our Yordle carry is going to be the 4-star, that means Poppy is just going to be stuck at 3. So that means we're going to itemize our Maokai as the main tank, and then Jarvan as the secondary tank. Best in slot for Teemo is going to be Blue Buff, Jewel Gauntlet, and Gunblade. And then this point here essentially just explains it. Since Poppy is not our 4-star, it's better to itemize Maokai and Jarvan. Eventually, you're going to swap out this Kled for Heimerdinger. Unless it's Kled 3, then it's fine. And then add 2 more multicasters, so that is Talia plus Vel'Koz. And that's how you cap out this comp and win out from there. Okay, so that is Teemo. Give this a try if you get the good, if you have the right items and you have some of the units. It's definitely super strong right now. Okay, moving on to our final 2-cost reroll comp of this patch is going to be Zed. Now, Zed is really interesting because you need these augments in order to play Zed reroll. If you don't have Vampiric Blades, you don't have Slayer's Resolve, I highly recommend to not play this comp because regular Zed without any of these augments is not that great. The goal of this reroll comp is going to be to 3-star our Zed and Katarina. Zed will be on level 6, then Katarina will be on level 7. Because we're looking at our 2-star main carry, once again, it's a pattern here, level 6 on 3-2. Roll down to stabilize for our 2-star versions. Make your way back up for your econ, and then slow roll again until you hit your Z3. After you hit your Z3, then you can start slowly going level 7 and doing the same for Katarina. Best in slot for Zed is going to be Infinity Edge, Hodge, and then Titan's Resolve, while Katarina is Jewel Gauntlet, Hodge, and Ionic Spark. And because they are rogues, which is essentially assassins, you want to make sure to same side your rogues as the enemy carry. So if they're in this corner, just move your Zeds over here, or your Zed here, and Katarina, and then vice versa, because they're going to jump to the back once they're below 50 HP, and they're going to kill the enemy main carry, and then the enemy has no more damage. Okay, so that is all of the 2-cost carries, 2-cost reroll carries. We can now move on to the 3-cost rerolls. I see a question being typed. I'll wait a bit and then see. Okay, so the question is for rogues. They're asking, if you're unsure about which person you are facing, is it worth splitting the rogues? So that is a great question. So let's say that this is the enemy board, right? I know the traits are in the way, but they're either going to be in the corners, because corner is the safest spot to put your enemy carry. This only works if you have Katarina 3. The reason why is because let's say you split it, right? And you put your Katarina over here, but it's only Katarina 2. If they put their main carry over in this corner, then Katarina 2 actually is not reliably going to kill the enemy carry. So I would just 50-50 it if you have Katarina 2, but once you have Katarina 3, then yes, you could split them and guarantee both corners. There's another question. You said you can't go rogue without vampiric and slayers, or is it fine? Either or fine? Oh yes, so one or the other. Sorry, I should have clarified. If you have either vampiric blades or slayer's resolve, or both, ideally it's both, then that's almost guaranteed first. Then you play this comp, but if you don't have either, then I don't recommend it. Okay, so moving on to the 3-cost rerolls now. The first one is going to be Reksai Freljord. The goal of this is to 3-star Reksai and Lysandra. The reason why this comp has gotten back into the meta is because on this patch, Riot Games patched the Infinity Edge interaction with Reksai, so now it actually works correctly on her ability. Best augments for this comp is going to be either Gargantuan Resolve or Titanic Strength, or both. The reason why I don't include Golden Ticket or Trade Sector on this is because you're going to be going level 7 and rolling on level 7. So what that means is your first and second augments are very far away from when you're actually doing this rerolling, and you might go into the game not planning on rerolling Reksai, but eventually you find yourself like in a position where you can. So that's why just having these combat augments instead is ideal. But if you do have a trade sector from 2-1 and you're just playing tempo and you find yourself in a Reksai carry position, then go ahead. This is even better. Best in slot for Reksai is going to be Infinity Edge and Bloodthirster and Titan Resolve. Gargantuan Resolve, it essentially allows your Titan's Resolve to get to 35 stacks, so granting even more attack damage and even more AP. If you have this augment, then you could bypass either the Infinity Edge or the Bloodthirster, ideally get rid of the Bloodthirster, and just have 2 Titan's Resolves. The reason why... Oh. Sorry about that. I think my computer crashed. Hello?
Oh no.
Alright, We'll reshare the screen.
We can hear you and you're still streaming.
Okay.
No.
Sorry about that. I think it was just some overload of my computer. Should be okay now. So as I was explaining, 2 Titans plus an Infinity Edge is good because the AP on Reksai, it increases her healing as she kills a unit. So then because you have more AP from the 2 Titans, you don't necessarily need that extra healing. Your secondary carry is either going to be Lysandra or Kaisa. So you can either 3-star your Lysandra or just 2-star your Kaisa and then place Shojin, Jewel Gauntlet +1 on them. Either or is okay. And then you don't need to build any Shred because you have Freljord, and eventually you drop Cho'Gath for Scion and Heimerdinger on level 8. The last comp we're going to be talking about is Karma Invokers, and this is a really strong comp on this patch. The best augment for her is Loving Invocation, which is essentially whenever an invoker casts an ability, everyone gets stacking ability power for that round specifically. So it's really good, especially because invokers is a stall comp. So there's plenty of shields, plenty of heals, plenty of more shields. There's plenty of shields in this comp, and healing. The longer the fight goes, with Loving Invocation, you stack up more and more AP, and eventually you'll be one-shotting the enemy. Since this is a 3-cost reroll comp, you're going to be leveling on 7 on 4-1, just as the Reksai was. And then best in slot for Karma is Jewel Gauntlet, Gunblade +1. Guardbreaker, Archangel, Rabadon, this is fine. You don't need to build any mana items in this composition because Invokers gives you so much mana every 3 seconds. And then Lysandra and Taric. Lysandra, such as the previous slide, any AP items with Shojin. And Taric, you want Bramble, Redemption, Sunfire Cape, Dragon Claw, just any tank items. You can either reroll this comp on level 7, or if you're really win streaking and you don't have a lot of karmas, you could try to go fast 9 and add Ahri. And then Ahri can become your main carry with 6 invokers. She doesn't need blue buff either because of the mana generation, and this will normally cap out a comp. I see, yes, this comp is super strong, and there are so many shields in this composition, and the fact that there's Targon as well, which increases shielding and healing, makes this composition really strong. Especially with a +1 Targon spat. If you get it, I don't recommend playing Aphelios for that +1 Targon to get to 3, just because Aphelios does not do a lot of damage without proper setup, and that +3 Targon is not worth it. So only play +3 Targon if you get that extra Targon spat, but not Aphelios. Okay, so that is all of the comps. Moving on to final tips here. So although with rerolling, you're going to be wanting to take a lot of economy augments and getting extra money or extra rolls, try to at least take 1 combat augment, so then your board is still able to be strong once you do 3-star your units, because you might run into a contester. Since everybody knows about these compositions, sometimes you'll be contested and 2 people, including yourself, will be going for the same reroll comp. You can either just play 2-star versions of that reroll composition and then tempo, so just push levels and then play for either top 4 or even fast 9, just tempo and not reroll. You can either pivot into another comp or just contest them as well and try to hit before they do. If your spot is better for that composition, then most of the time just play it anyway and you'll outperform or outplace the contester. And remember, if you're either at 1 life or you're 1 copy away from your 3-star, it's okay to send it, donkey roll for it, or even just keep rolling for it if you're at 1 life or 1 copy away, because if you do hit, that will be a massive spike. Okay, so that has been everything for today. That is